Hey guys, it's Troll 9002. Up on another crazy day. A very sad day for me. Usually when I get emotional like the way I got today, we had to put our baby dog down. I say baby, but she was 20 years old. She lived a really good life, and I don't know. I just go into a whole nother world to avoid this one when things like that happened. Um, the story I wrote today is called Just Go On. And it's not sad and sappy, I don't think. But it's definitely different from my norm. Y'all can tell me in the comments if you love it, you hate it, you know the deal. Hit the like button if you do like it. If you hate it, tell me why, because I like reading the comments. Anyway, so here we go. Once upon a time, there was a girl who lived on a farm outside of a popular town called Binesville. She owned that farm, and she ran the farm, and she lived on it all by herself, surviving off the land through her animals, crops, and farm knowledge. Rashelle made her own clothes, and they were always fashionable, but she also sold them too. Rarely did she ever go into the town of Binesville. Most of the town folk knew she was out there, but never took the time to know her. Rashelle didn't care to know the townspeople either. For years they speculated about what she did, and how she was able to rarely ever come into town, and when she did come into town, how she had money. See, the town folk were one-track minded. They never thought of the towns that were around them, because their town had a very big retail store that none of the other towns had. And yes, their mom and pop stores were all going out of business, but they didn't care. When Rashelle would sell her goods, she would only sell them to mom and pop stores. This is why she would sell her goods in the neighboring town of Fenwile. Rashelle had a secret weapon that no one ever knew about except her parents, but they had a long past, and Rashelle never used her weapon on anyone because she wasn't confident enough to do so. There was a time long, long before she had moved out of her town, when she was young, that she used her secret weapon, and it mesmerized people. They would just stop what they were doing and listen to her. Her voice was her secret weapon. She had such a sweet-sounding voice, you couldn't help but stop what you were doing and either join in the song she was singing or just stand there and listen. The town started growing, and when the town was undergoing construction for the giant retail chain, the regular town folk that ran the mom-and-pop stores started to leave. Those were the people that knew about her secret, and even though they would miss her voice, they wouldn't miss her, and they left. It wasn't long after that her parents had they had to close the family shop. Rashelle tried everything she could to keep the family store open, including a talent show. And she had it all lined up, every act for a good hour and a half. And they were halfway through the show and one act was stuck on the side of the road and couldn't make it. So she had to fill the spot. She decided that she would use her secret weapon that only the former town people knew about. Nervous as she could be, she thrust herself out there on the stage, gave the sound person a nod that she was ready, and the wrong song started to play. Everyone was staring at her as she said, "No, no, that isn't mine." And the sound guy just turned off the music. And there was that awkward silence, and everybody was staring at her. And Rashelle almost gave up at that moment, but she decided to just sing a cappella, and she started singing her favorite church song called Agnus. That is Latin for Lamb of God, but she decided to show off a little and sing it in Latin. And so, when she started singing, there was not a sound in the crowd. Everyone was tuned into her voice, and she did a really good job. And the next act came up and started to play, and people had felt like they had been put in a trance by Rashelle, and they had been snapped out of it by the following act. So feeling upset like they had been overpowered by another person, they started to claim she was a witch, and because of that they all started to leave and demand their money back. And all but a small group of supporters had left. Rashelle was ruined as the incident made its way all over town before morning. Everyone looked down on her like she had done something wrong. Needless to say, after that, day she would never sing again. She swore to herself never again. Even after all, her parents still lost the store. And they decided to give their daughter the farm and move into a castle at Disney World. And so they did. Rashelle bid them farewell and luck as they left. Many people said it was Rashelle's fault that they left, that they had had a nervous breakdown or a midlife crisis. But she knew better. And for a long time, this was the life she lived, was with her farm animals, just going through the motions and existing every day, doing the everyday routine of eat, sleep, and work in no particular order, until one day a giant monster called a wolficorn came down from the pine tree farm that was spanned on the other side of Bynesville. The townfolk had taken all its food for themselves because they were greedy, and it came down to retrieve its food from the town, tearing up buildings with its tail, and nipping at people who were trying to shoot it. The wolficorn kept on, but it couldn't find its food, because all the greedy town folks had sold it to the giant retail place. And so the wolficorn headed out towards the retail place to retrieve its food, and the town folks did not know what to do. And then a townsperson named Alvin remembered how Rashelle's witchy voice could put people into a trance, and so he grabbed a bunch of townfolk and headed up yonder to talk to Rashelle about helping them defeat the wolficorn. It was still early and light out, and because Rashelle lived so far out of town, she didn't know anything about the monster that had just invaded Bynesville. But the town people were knocking on her door, and she opened it just a crack, surprised to see all the town people. And they explained to her what had happened and what was going on, and if she didn't help. And they explained their plan to her about her singing and putting the beast into the trance so they could defeat it. And at first Rashelle was resistant, but then she closed the door, said a quick prayer, and breathed out, and opened the door, followed the townspeople to where the beast was. She began to sing. At first, Rashelle sang very softly, and then grew louder as she got more confident, and she remembered the song, and started to belt it out loud and proud. And the beast turned from what it was doing and looked at her. The townfolk, thinking it was going to eat her and then eat them, all ran away. When she was done with the song, she dug into her song repertoire and just kept on it. The wolficorn had calmed so much it forgot about being hungry, that it just laid down in front of Rashelle. As she pet the wolficorn, which was a giant wolf with a horn, and instead of paws it had hoofs. It had a rainbow hair mane that alternated between black and brown hair. While Rashelle sang, she pet the wolficorn, and it was so relaxed that it forgot how to breathe and passed away. Then Rashelle started singing sad songs, and seeing how she killed the beast, the townsfolk came back out and chastised Rashelle for killing such an innocent animal. But this time there was a bigger amount of people that saw what had really happened that took over and defended Rashelle. And eventually the idiots of the town were driven out, and so was the giant retail building. The mom and pop stores started to make a comeback as people needed supplies, and the next town over was just too far for most people. Rashelle went back to her farm and just got back to work. She would sing only to the farm animals, but she never stopped singing again, for she knew there must be a reason that she had a voice like that. She never figured it out, but on behalf of the town, her family's storefront was given back to her so she could sell her goods again in the town of Bynesville. Nothing had changed. There were always the gossipers that would spread the story of the wolficorn. Many had it right, how it ended, but most never ended it right. Rashelle was never appreciated for defeating the wolficorn, but it was okay. She sold her farm goods and ran her farm, and lived, helping anyone in any way she could, never expecting anything in return, and keeping herself humble. She lived a long life, but died an old maid from old age. Some say that was a life wasted, but others speculate the only waste was the people who took the time to bring her down instead of building her up. And then there is me. My perspective is don't stomp on people who help. If they give time to your project, it means they care. And if you're not going to care about the work they do, then you're a waste of time, and you should seek help elsewhere. If you agree with me, great. If you don't, let me know why. Like I said, I enjoy reading the comments. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscription button, ring the bell if you want future stories. And go ahead and hit the like button if you liked it. If you hated it, you can tell me that too. Sorry it's so long, but I know you guys like the stories. Y'all take care and have a great week. And